Picture this. You're part of a crew on a space freighter tasked with hauling a mysterious cargo to another planet. You're on a tight deadline and everything seems straightforward. Well, until it's not. A tragic event happens and suddenly you're stuck drifting through the void. Your fate? A slow, inevitable death. That's the grim setup of Mouthwashing. When I first picked this up, I half expected some kind of tongue-in-cheek cosmic horror, maybe about bad mouthwash or something. But Mouthwashing takes a completely different direction. What I got was a disturbingly raw, dark character drama that explores the absolute worst parts of humanity. Narcissism, depravity, and just outright madness. It's a story that's hauntingly bleak, and you feel it in every scene. Now, this game isn't your usual linear story. It's disjointed, intentionally. It jumps between past, present, and even future events, only hinting at what's going on. And the writing? It's top-notch. Every character is memorable, even though there's no voice acting. Honestly, I think it works in the game's favor though, because bad voice acting really could have undercut the experience. Mouthwashing taps into true sci-fi tradition, using a bleak, isolated setting to bring out a story that's intense and gut-wrenching. It's not the jump scare horror you might expect from, say, like Event Horizon. Instead, it feels something closer to a psychological horror masterpiece. Think like Kubrick's The Shining. It's unsettling more than it's scary, so even if you're not big on horror, you can still handle this game. The characters are the real stars here. Each one is fleshed out with backstories, goals, and dreams that unfold by the end. No one really feels like a cliche. They're unpredictable, believable people, and you feel invested in their stories. And then there's the chapter progression, which is all over the place, but in a good way. It gaslights the player, keeping you on edge and making you second guess what's real and what's not. If it weren't for the game's Tarantino-esque editing and schizophrenic vibes, you might think you had everything figured out halfway through. But the developers took risks here, blending film influences with classic gameplay tropes to create something genuinely unique, and it pays off. Now, the graphics are straight out of the PlayStation 1 era, which works perfectly for this game. It's got that Resident Evil and Dino Crisis vibe with the character models, but with more modern lighting to give it a fresh edge. It's nostalgic, but it feels innovative in the way it's used here. Now, the ending, it left me feeling hollow, but not in a bad way. The build-up felt earned. There was no cheap shock factor, just a final haunting moment that really just sticks with you, and you're just left sitting there, just soaking it all in. Now, there were a few moments where I thought the game crashed, but that's actually just how it handles some of the transitions, which actually adds to the unsettling atmosphere and the game's unhinged nature though, so I didn't really mind. Now, the less you know going into Mouthwashing, the better. It's a narrative-driven game from the folks at Wrong Organ, who also developed How Fish is Made, which is another psychological story-driven game that's actually going to be next on my list. If Mouthwashing is any indicator, we're in for some wild rides from this team. So if you're a fan of psychological thrillers that dig deep and stay with you long after you finish, Mouthwashing is a must-play. So thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, subscribe, and all the other good stuff on the YouTube. So until next time, stay curious and keep on gaming.